Hi there. Thanks so much for joining me today for the latest episode of Impact Real Estate Investing. My guest today is the energetic Lyneir Richardson. In all that he does, Lyneir is razor-focused on helping urban entrepreneurs. He straddles two roles in two cities, Newark and Chicago. At Rutgers University in Newark, he is the executive director of the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development. There, he is intent on helping 1,000 diverse urban entrepreneurs grow their companies. And he's also an entrepreneur himself. He co-founded and is CEO of the Chicago Trend, a social enterprise providing resources to real estate developers and retailers to promote investment in Chicago neighborhoods. Be sure to go to evepicker.com to find out more about Lyneir on the show notes page for this episode. And be sure to sign up for my newsletter so you can access information about impact real estate investing and get the latest news about the exciting projects on my crowdfunding platform, Small Change. Hello, Lyneir. I'm really excited to have you here today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah. So you're a man with a mission, and I'd really love to talk about that today. And firstly, in your role as the director of the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development at Rutgers University, and that's quite a mouthful.
It is.
You've set a goal there of helping 1,000 urban entrepreneurs grow their businesses. And I'd really like to hear more about that.
Great. Well, I have been at Rutgers Business School for 6 years. In October of 2019, we celebrated the 10th anniversary of the Rutgers Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development. During that 10-year period, we really focused on helping a diverse set of entrepreneurs get to, quote unquote, the next level. And that's how we always talked about it. And then made the connection between entrepreneurship and economic development. Let me tell you a little bit about what I mean. We can point to the fact that we've directly assisted over 400, now probably almost 500 entrepreneurs. 70% are entrepreneurs of color, African American or Latino largely. Over 62% are women. 40% are right in the city of Newark, New Jersey, which is, an urban city that's been really revitalizing through local municipal leadership and corporate support. And of those firms, we've taken now a little over 160 above $1 million a year in revenue. So we're really excited about that.
Fabulous, yeah.
Accomplishments of our first, 10 years of work. And so the next, as we thought about, all right, we've completed our 10 years, what do we want to do next? We really focused on this initiative we're calling 1,000 million. And as you mentioned, the focus is, can we help, 1,000 diverse entrepreneurs get to and exceed $1 million a year of annual recurring revenue? The reason why that's important for us is, the $1 million revenue mark is not the end all be all, but it's an important threshold. It's when an entrepreneur typically can, start to think about either borrowing money or taking on investors. Is that at that point where they have some employees beyond themselves? It's at that point where they hopefully will start to be able to consistently have some owner's compensation or some profit to share. They have customer validations, and that type of stuff. So
they're at the beginning of growth mode, right?
Beginning of growth mode. And so while we work with, micro entrepreneurs, initially doing $100,000 or $200,000 of revenue, as long as they were in business for 2 years, and we won't, discontinue working with them. We sort of turn to an intentional effort to take firms who are in the $200,000 to $300,000 to $600,000 range and try to focus on getting them to the next level. So that's been fun. That's our Rutgers Center for Urban, and Rutgers has been a really supportive university environment because typically entrepreneurship centers at universities are, internally focused, helping students pursue entrepreneurial activity and helping alumni. Rutgers here, because we have this chancellor, Nancy Cantor, who's really made publicly engaged scholarship a strategic priority and a mission. She's a national spokesperson for it, as well as the dean of our business school, who made social impact, one of her top initiatives and priorities. We are able to open the doors of the business school to a community of entrepreneurs, many or most of which are not Rutgers students and they're not Rutgers alumni. It's just a community around us, the local coffee shop or the professional service provider in the area, in our state or region, that we really are helping to accelerate and grow.
Cool. How long is it going to get to 1,000 of them?
But, it's interesting. So if you think about it, it took us 10 years to get 400 entrepreneurs in our program, 160. I think by, intentionally focusing, we're hoping that over the next 5 years, you'll start to reach that goal. So we're talking to a number of corporate partners. We've talked to some of the big philanthropy about both making, our in-person courses, expanding them out some, but obviously not just because of the pandemic, but even in advance of it, using online tools so that we can expand our reach.
Yes.
So, again, we're hoping that over the next 5 years, we'll start to see more entrepreneurs cross the threshold. We're going to research it and track it and celebrate it as well.
So what does an urban entrepreneur look like, and where are they located? What sort of businesses are they?
Yep. So it's interesting. So, urban entrepreneur is an interesting term. Urban is an interesting term, right?
Yes.
So, what's urban? Is it, in most instances, place? It's about density of place. But I've been most passionate about urban with a racial lens, racially diverse, economically, challenged, ethnic and underserved areas. So in a lot of respects, my urban is really focused on here in the U.S. who've not been able to realize the full promise of our American dream, right? Been subjected by, systemic racism and that kind of stuff. So the question is, can I help them get resources and opportunity, to folks who've been overlooked and undervalued, right? So that's really the focus of the urban we do, is distressed urban neighborhoods where we'll create jobs and, create wealth in communities. And then the economic development impacts all around quality of life, right? More crime decreases. Will there be better educational outcomes? More amenities in neighborhoods, that type of work, right? And that's the things that we measure, right? And so our view as these urban entrepreneurs, as they become more successful, will be community anchors. They support the Little League team, and civically active and employ locally. And, that's the big dream and the vision for it all.
Can you give us some examples of the sorts of businesses you've helped?
So a wide variety. I'll talk about a few that we're proud of.
Surely you're proud of them all, right?
Right, we're proud of them all. I just, off the top of my head, you're right about that.
It's like your children.
Thank you for that. You're right. We have 4 categories of signature program sort of lanes. One we call, which is our bedrock program, the Entrepreneurs Pioneers Initiative. It's for first generation entrepreneurs. We have a program for media and art and entertainment industry entrepreneurs. We have a program that focuses on helping retail and restaurant entrepreneurs. And we have done a lot of work recently with people of color forming technology ventures and accelerating, those ideas. And typically after school in the summer, we will do some youth entrepreneurship programs. We have a really cool, I'll just go walk back up the ladder. So we have a really cool technology firm called WhereWorks that has started to raise capital into a number of strategic partnerships. This product is a haptic, sort of a navigation device for people with visual disabilities. Their recent accomplishment is using their product. A blind individual ran the New York Marathon the first time without any type of seeing, eye dog or use their tool to do it. We hope that they're going to continue to grow and get resources and use their tools for gaming and for all types of health outcomes as well. But the local, right down the street from our business school, we have a number of restaurants and coffee shops, Black Swan Coffee, Green Chickpea is a restaurant. These are, local businesses that we've either helped get contracts with the university. One is soon to announce a second location.
Yeah.
The coffee shop I love because the donuts are so great, right? So, even though I should be avoiding the donut shop, it's, really cool right down the street. A lot of professional services firms, PR firms, accounting firms.
That's a really wide variety.
Yeah, very exciting.
I wonder, how do you identify these entrepreneurs? What's the bar they have to reach to be able to get into your program? Or
our initial requirement was in business at least 2 years and $100,000 of revenue is the threshold for most of our programs. The technology ventures, we knew they were startups, and it was, do we believe they could have some type of traction? Either they've gotten some other investment or been admitted into some other accelerator programs, or have some indication of probability of success. But the goal really is to take people on, a rung of the ladder and help them get to the next rung of the ladder. The state university, we view ourselves as an anchor that's going to be here. And so we provide resources over many years. The Entrepreneurs is not just in a program. We give people student consulting teams over multiple years. We invite them back to the universities over multiple years. So, we're in it for the long haul with the Entrepreneurs in our program.
That sounds fabulous. What's your background and how did you get here?
Yeah, I started as a lawyer. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My dad owned a restaurant and bar. We owned popcorn stores. We owned 5 popcorn stores. So, like our dinner time conversations were around, we got a new location or lease, or the truck broke down, or someone didn't show up. What are you gonna do? And growing up as a teen, I was a DJ, a cleanup person, a delivery person. So I had all of those roles and saw business firsthand. I went to law school and practiced law initially as a bank lawyer.
I have to ask, a family that owns popcorn stores begets a lawyer. How did that happen?
Well, you know what? Our parents believed in education, right? And they believed, in the value of education to continue to advance the family.
Yes.
What was interesting in being a bank lawyer was to demystify banking. I remember as a child, we'd always talk about how difficult it was to get a bank loan, or, and the narrative is I was probably drawn to be a bank lawyer with 90 lawyers in the law department there. But I remember every afternoon around 2 p.m., I'd start to fall asleep on the bank loan documents. It wasn't until I got an opportunity to do a community, like a pro bono project of loaning, instead of loaning $100 million to an airlines or a public utility, I got a project to loan $100,000 to a little local entrepreneur who was buying the building that I think he was operating his barbershop from. And it was the same documents, promissory note, loan agreement, guarantee, minus 3 zeros. So instead of 100 million, it was 100,000.
Right. I'm very familiar.
But I loved it, right? It was all of a sudden I could see the connection to the work and, being on that corridor in a struggling neighborhood, not far from, where we initially grew up. Then that community development work became my passion, right? Getting resources to those type of entrepreneurs and to the communities, that became my passion. I worked as a bank lawyer. I became an entrepreneur myself in Chicago. I developed, built, and sold well over 300 single-family homes and townhomes, mostly in underserved areas. Was Young Entrepreneur of the Year in SBA many years ago, probably 25, almost 30 years ago. But then I had all the highs and lows of entrepreneurship, from the cover of the Cranes magazine and the awards to the doors of bankruptcy court. I ended up selling my company in a fire sale after a tough period. I got fired on the job. We overextended ourselves on a contract. I had, personal, the mother died. I had this period of just needing to restructure. But I was able to get a job doing the same work, heading a national initiative with a publicly traded company that was focused on doing retail development in urban neighborhoods. And so by now I started to see this pattern. I was a bank lawyer and found passion in lending in urban neighborhoods. I then started as an entrepreneur building homes in urban neighborhoods. I then found this big corporate position that had a national focus on getting retail to urban neighborhoods. And then when the recession hit in 2007, I got this opportunity to work with Cory Booker and had the Economic Development Organization in Newark, New Jersey. Cory Booker, as you may know, very charismatic
Oh, yeah.
mayor of Newark,
Yes.
New Jersey, ultimately became Senator Booker. And because of his charisma, we had this opportunity to position Newark as a city that would be a national model of urban transformation and started to do projects. So we did grocery stores and office buildings and new restaurants in the city. It became a lot of fun. And when he became Senator Booker is when I moved to Rutgers. So that's the long sort of career journey.
Yeah. I mean, there seems to be a lot happening in Newark. I keep running into people doing.
Very good. I mean, even now, phenomenal current leadership. Senator Booker is, working more at the national level. But, we have a phenomenal local mayor who's galvanized both the business community, the residential community, and really done phenomenal work here. So a lot's going on.
Yes.
The last thing I just want to mention is it when initially started out as a research project in my first year at Rutgers has now morphed into a social enterprise that we know really excited about. I'm also CEO of a social enterprise called Chicago Trend. It's a real estate focused social enterprise that now has about $15 million of capital investing in the same neighborhoods, trying to determine when commercial real estate development and retail amenities and services and performing arts center. We've been investing $200,000 to $2 million into various projects with the mission of strengthening the commercial corridors that will ultimately strengthen the neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Rutgers has been very good in allowing this research work to be in synergy, with the entrepreneurial activity in Chicago. So for me, I am at a high point in my career, both sides of the brain. One side is teaching entrepreneurs and being a champion and cheerleader of entrepreneurs in Rutgers. The other side is I actually get to put money into ventures and try to make an investment return. So it really is a fun time, a fun career right now.
Exciting. It sounds like you're very busy.
Yeah, absolutely. But when it's passion work, even though it's busy, it doesn't hurt.
No, I totally agree with you. So then what does socially responsible real estate look like to you?
So again, my focus has been getting resources to people and places that other people overlook and undervalue. And for me, that is every city has a part of town. And again, I headed economic development in Newark. So there was a part of town where crime is higher, where there's more blight, where educational achievement is not as great, where there's adverse health indicators. That's the part of town that I believe a focus on real estate development and a focus on commercial corridor, inclusive ownership of property, getting amenities, daycare, dry cleaner, urgent care center, grocery store is what people often talk about, sit down restaurant. Those type of investments can change and strengthen a neighborhood. And people also say, well, change, I'm concerned about gentrification.
Yes.
The goal is not bringing Neiman Marcus in, it's bringing the amenities and services that improve the quality of life for the residents who have decided this is where I want to live, but to also continue to add economic diversity to a neighborhood as well, additional income, so that middle income families and people with additional educational achievements can say, I grew up here, I'll have some connection to this neighborhood, and I can make this a place where I choose to live because of its conveniences and its history, and be a part of its continued progression.
Yeah, I think the gentrification line is very difficult because we can't leave places like that without investment. So you have to find a way to invest respectfully, I suppose, is the way.
Exactly right. And doing it inclusively. So this is, the capital we've invested, it's with people of color who have some connection to that neighborhood. It's helping residents open national franchise in a neighborhood. Again, it's getting capital to help residents and local, entrepreneurs own and drive the revitalization, own and drive the economic growth. That's what's fun for me.
So the fund, the $15 million fund that you're using, how did you raise that?
It's initially philanthropically motivated impact investors.
Okay.
It is the MacArthur Foundation in Chicago provided the initial $5 million of what they call a program-related investment, very flexible patient capital, which allows us to invest it into projects in a patient and flexible way as well. We've had a second investor, $5 million of a venture called Benefit Chicago, which includes the Calvert Foundation. And then most recently, we announced a $5 million investment from Fifth Third Bank, again, a flexible capital. And we have some of the religious organizations have also made the American Baptist Home Mission Society has provided some equity capital that we're using also. So really excited about it.
So, my next comment is going to be, what about crowdfunding? Letting everyday people invest.
Again, when I read about your work, it's something that I would love to figure out how to do. We haven't. And certainly we want crowdfunding to be a part of our menu. And again, now that we have made investments, have a track record, this thought of, can I create vehicles that will allow more local ownership alongside of, our investment would be phenomenal. So,
well, we should talk, because you don't need to figure it out, because I have.
Great. We should do something together. I love it.
Yeah, it really is an impact fund with impact investors who care about what you're doing. It's
exactly right.
Pretty great stuff. Yeah. So I have to ask, we're in the middle of a pandemic and we're both at home doing this interview. How are you supporting your entrepreneurs through this pandemic?
It's a phenomenal question. We have done a few webinars initially asking people, how is the pandemic affecting you? How are you thinking about your business model? How can we be supportive? So, first thing was, instead of just responding, we started to talk to the entrepreneurs and try to understand from our customers how we could, best support them. We've done a number of, webinars and surveys around applying for the available resources, as well as thinking about how to innovate business model, doing more online. My favorite was one of the entrepreneurs in our program operates a dance studio. They're doing their jazz dance programs via, Zoom now. And the one question she wanted us to help her figure out was, do I have legal liability? And, how do I, either get some consents because they're not in my spaces if someone gets hurt. So, those type of, strategic questions, right?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
That's really been the nature of the work. Where I am spending a lot of time is on a program that goes deep, right? So I think right now, everybody rightfully so, and thankfully so, there's a lot of announcements about new programs and small grants, local, municipal, federal, corporate, even philanthropic, to help entrepreneurs sort of survive.
Mm-hmm.
I really am spending a lot of time thinking about, and we've designed a sort of I call it entrepreneurial management consulting, to help entrepreneurs really think beyond the first 3 months of opening, but to think about the economic reality over the next year, right? And two, how do you change your model? How do you create new revenue streams? Is this the time to reposition? Can you raise new capital? In addition to accessing all of the survival and recovery capital and strategies that are out there, how do you really think about this as a moment to become stronger?
Yes.
And pivot.
The interesting thing is, entrepreneurs are wired that way, right? They're people who think things up and work through challenges and are flexible and figure out how to get through unexpected challenges. And it could be a really good opportunity to make a business stronger or different, or add some programming to it, or whatever. And I've noticed amongst people in general, there seems to be a clear divide between people who say, well, we're just going to get back to normal, and others who say, well, what's normal going to be? It's going to be different. It's very interesting to me. And you're clearly one of the people thinking about a different normal, right?
Absolutely. And again, I think entrepreneurs are thinking about that as well. I guess there's two categories. There's some folks who will say, this is the time for me to reposition, to do entrepreneurship either in a different way or to think about that this is not fun, right? And again, there's a lot of parts of entrepreneurship that are not fun.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And, there's late nights and there's accounts payable and, and chasing, opportunity. And so I think there'll be some folks who will say, this may be my time to exit or to pivot, right?
Yes.
But there's another subset of entrepreneurs that I believe are even right now thinking, where's the new opportunity? How do I get new capital to pursue that opportunity? They're sitting back at home and thinking about, what do I need to do to create a stronger business, additional wealth, when we all are back outside again in the new normal.
Yeah. Interesting. So a final question is, what do you think that the center will look like in a year? Have you thought about that?
Yeah. So, again, we have already pivoted to all of our capacity building programs now are virtual. And the thought of being able to have a broader reach, we won 3 or 4 awards for the effectiveness of our programs. And to be able to have a broader reach because of technology and it being accepted, that's the cool thing about using all of the Zoom and WebEx and other tools, is before it always was sort of it was a second option. The technology was always sort of clunky. You would never make that even part of the first consideration. I think now our center is going to have a whole lot more reach and impact by using and leaning into and the acceptance of the virtual tools. And we're also, embarking on a campaign to endow our center, which will allow us to be, not raising money program by program, to name the center and to be able to continue to impact entrepreneurs along the scale, from youth to technology to the coffee shop down the street.
Well, I really can't wait to see what happens next. And you and I are going to have some coffee on Zoom sometime.
Absolutely.
Very soon. Thank you very much.
What a phenomenal opportunity, and thank you.
Okay, bye. That was Lyneir Richardson. While Lyneir's work straddles 2 cities, the goal is the same in both places. He's searching for ways to level the playing field for entrepreneurs and real estate developers in economically disadvantaged neighborhoods. In Newark, he's helped 400 diverse entrepreneurs, growing to 1,000, grow their businesses. And in Chicago, he provides resources to real estate developers and retailers to promote investment in disadvantaged Chicago neighborhoods. You can find out more about impact real estate investing and access the show notes for today's episode at my website, evepicker.com. While you're there, sign up for my newsletter to find out more about how to make money in real estate while building better cities. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today, and thank you, Lyneir, for sharing your thoughts with me. We'll talk again soon, but for now, this is Eve Picker signing off to go make some change.